Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 6 of my tutorial campaign for Realistic Progression 0, the campaign mod for the Realism Overhaul suite of realism mods for Kerbal Space Program. In the last episode, we launched a bunch of rockets trying to flight-proof this Ballista B for use for getting something towards the moon. Now, we didn't have a great deal of success because something always failed. But we basically know that it's capable. So we're just waiting for the tracking station to complete. Once the tracking station is complete, we'll be able to see when we get a lunar intercept. The mission control upgrade has completed, so we can place maneuver nodes. So we'll be able to launch into a suborbital trajectory, place a maneuver node, get a lunar intercept, and then we can go ahead and burn that with our giant collection of solids. Hope they all work. Now, I went ahead and got both the lunar flyby contract, which requires a periselene of lower than 5,000 kilometers, but I also picked up the lunar impactor contract, which requires you to actually hit the moon. I did that because if we nail our relative inclination with the moon on ascent, and we get a maneuver node that gets us basically there, it shouldn't be that much harder to hit the moon rather than just get within 5,000 kilometers of it. So that gave us quite a chunk of change. We went from about 11,000 funds to almost 100,000 funds. We have about a year to do that. It's November 1952 right now, almost December. We have until late November 1953 to impact the moon and to fly by the moon, so we can afford a bunch of these failures. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to queue up another one of these things. And hopefully one of these will hit the moon. Now, I'm going to go ahead and warp to it. And you'll note the tracking station has come due. You'll note that the basic orbital rocketry is no longer on this list. It already finished researching, which is great. That means we have access to the first sort of solid tier of rocket engines, because this tier is more like prototypes. So we're going to go ahead and warp to that. And yeah, let's see how this goes. And as we're waiting during our ascent, I will talk about the wonderful new rocket engines to which we have access. So let's get this up. I believe that my parameters last time were 70, 135, I think. Yeah, so we're going to the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into map view, and we're going to find the moon, and we're going to set it as our target. Relative inclination, 17.5 degrees and going up. That means it'll be a little while before we'll be in plane. So I'm going to go ahead and basically let MechJeb handle that warping rather than trying to do it myself. I'm going to guess that we want to be about a degree ahead in terms of phasing. Well, 1.5 degrees, I think, actually, ahead in terms of phase angle. And the rest of these things look reasonable to me. So we're going to go ahead and engage the autopilot and launch into plane of target and let it warp until the appointed hour. And of course it's going to be a night launch because that's how that works. My lunar launches are usually nighttime launch. We're going to disengage the autopilot, and we're going to verify the position of the moon. So we are right here. That means essentially we will come, now we're going to miss this window, and that's fine. But because I remembered that we're not launching into a parking orbit. We're launching direct ascent, which means we need a launch window. So yeah, we're going to launch into orbit. We'll be in an orbit about like this. That means that right about here is where we'll be performing translunar injection. Somewhere around here. That means that our apogee will be diametrically opposed. It'll be the opposite. It'll be out at about this angle, right down here. So that means we want the moon about 1/8 of the way from there, which is going to be about here. So we've got a few days to wait until we actually have a lunar launch window. Now, ideally, and we can verify this another way. When we're in the plane of the moon, or as close as we can get, Cape Canaveral will be up here, which means we want to hit the moon when it's at its nadir, down the absolute bottom possible point it can be in its orbit. That means that we need to wait. We need to guess that there will be about a 3-day transit from when we initiate translunar injection to when we arrive out here. Maybe a little less because we're about right for a transit. About 3 days. The moon's period is 28 days, if memory serves. So we're looking at, again, about 1/8, give or take. Don't have to be supremely precise, I don't think. So I think we'll have enough delta V. So yeah, again, we want the moon to be about here-ish. So let's go ahead and warp some until the moon is in fact about there. All right, so let's take the next launch window. Launch into plane of target is in 4 hours. That's, about right. We may have to make a maneuver node that goes out radial some to slow us down, or that adds some normal so that we get there a little slower. I'm debating whether we should wait another day. The moon will probably be about here if we wait another day. I think I want to wait another day. Let's see if that guess is correct. Okay. So the moon's going to come closer. All right, so that's rather less than I would have liked, but it is what it is. Let's see whether we can in fact hit the moon. So, short launch countdown, our inclination tracks. Okay, so we're launching with a relative inclination of 0.77. Now, we're going to try to lower that to about 0.25 on ascent. So let's see how that goes. So we have engine light, and away we go. And let's see if I remembered these settings correctly. Right, so while we're waiting for this ascent to progress, I'll talk a little about the engines that we've unlocked. Now, I, of course, haven't paid to actually unlock them yet. I'm just talking about the tech node. But tier 2 of the tech tree, which is sometimes referred to as TL1, these being TL0 engines, back from the earliest days of real fuels and realism overhaul, are the engines used on basically the first like serious business non-prototype launch vehicles, like the Soviets R-7, which they launched Sputnik with, the U.S. Atlas and Thor and Jupiter, Titan 1, which was not really a great success, but spawned Titan 2, which and the whole Titan family. So all these things. Now, so the lower stage engines, the RD-107 and 108 on the R7, the LR-79 on Thor and Jupiter, the LR-89 and LR-105 on Atlas, the LR-87 and LR-91 on Titan. All those lower stage engines are super helpful. Let's actually no. I think my memory last time was I accept the steering losses. So also what unlocks is some upper stage engines. What unlocks is the RD-0105, which is the small Kerolox upper stage engine that the Russians used to get to the moon for their lunar flyby probes and impactors and things. And it was uprated and made more reliable for Vostok as the RD-0109. We have burnout. We seem to have an issue here. Interesting. We had, I guess this gets racked up as a failure. Okay. Well, not really sure what happened there. It looked like a staging issue with the ullage motors, maybe? Let me look at the next one of these things. And let's examine our staging. That, yes, our staging did in fact get messed up. That would explain things. Our staging got all kinds of messed up, as it happens. See, these are the, yeah. This is... Which decoupler is that? All right. That. What the heck decoupler is? Oh, no, that's not. Yeah, okay. Oh, oh. No, there was nothing wrong with the staging. There was just something wrong with the head. I thought this was the prior launch vehicle. Or is that... No, sorry. Not even that. I thought this was a totally different launch vehicle. I thought this had ullage motors. It had hot stages. Yeah, our prior launch vehicle in this series also had ullage motors. That is the source of my confusion. So, yes, sometimes the errors are unforced. Right. Let's duplicate this and launch it. Let's see where the moon is. My guess is that we're going to be kind of, yeah, that's not awesome. So we have 20 days to wait for the moon to be down in launch window position. Well, them's the breaks. That's what I get for not remembering my own launch vehicle. All right. Oh, crud. Well, we're gonna hope that we have a fast transfer again. We might miss it this time too. We'll see. You notice how big of a penalty it is not being able to launch you into a parking orbit and then go from there. But this is a tutorial about teaching you how to do stuff rather than teaching you how to do the super easy stuff. So, I mean, not that getting to the moon, even from a parking orbit, is super easy, especially when you're relying on solids, but it's not as hard as having to do a direct launch. Set as target. Our relative inclination, it is going up, which is not what I wanted to know. But we'll launch at the next window. Yeah. Okay. And at 28 days, it's closer to 1/9 anyway, so hopefully that's 1/9. And we almost made a day launch, but not quite. All right, and this time I have to remember that I'm hot staging. Prior launch vehicle and the launch vehicle I was testing for Go for Launch, which Sound and Fury made, have ullage motors. So that is what I was used to. Oh dear. Okay, so we have 2 seconds, 1 second. Ignition. Good thrust. Liftoff. And roll program. And you can see all the bright city lights. Pitch program. We're going to hope that this comes down over time. I'm going to go a little bit south for now, because our inclination right now is 28.61, which is our launch latitude, and it's already going down a little. I'll explain that. But main point is the moon's inclination, 28.363. So we're going to have to lower our inclination on our ascent if we want to be actually really lining up with the moon. So the way we do that is we go south early. And later, then we correct going north a little. And we automatically go north. Our inclination is going to lower. Watch it lowering. And that's because as gravity pulls us towards the equator, so we're launching due east, but gravity is going to pull us down. So our prograde vector is going to arc more southward, which means, did we just have we had a failure? Of course we did. Okay. As I was saying before, we were rudely interrupted by our main engine failing. Oh, and I should pick some sounding rocket contracts too, because we're definitely going to reach them, even if we miss the moon, and that gives us a little money. Right. So I was saying, as we're burning due east and our velocity vector is heading more towards the south, we're burning north of our velocity vector, which is going to lower our inclination because we're above the equator. So let's warp to this. Roll it out. Go to the tracking station. Line up for another direct launch. The moon is Okay. Let's see. We want the moon to be about there. Actually, a little bit back from there, I think, because we have up to a day to match its plane. Okay. Now, given how much those contracts are paying out, and given how cheap our launch vehicle is, our launch vehicle is a little over 2,000 funds. They're paying out 31 and 41 each for advance and reward. That's 140,000 funds total. So we launch 70 of these before we break even. So I think we'll be okay. It is, however, annoying as heck. So target the moon. Why is the moon there? I must have messed up in the tracking station, because we want the moon, like, there. Well, we'll launch this. It won't hurt to launch this anyway. We'd have to wait a month. And we'll at least get the contracts and verify that we can get out to a lunar apogee. And oh, so we just launched. We just missed our window. I probably should have launched right then. Oh well. So probably could have mostly fixed that inclination, and we might still have hit the moon that way. But well, we'll do it this way. At least we have a day launch this time. Engine ignition. Good thrust. Liftoff. And we're going to, again, head a little bit south. Just a little bit. Passing some clouds. Relative inclination is going up, but we're also it's going to go down pretty soon, let me tell you. In fact, I think right at about 500 meters per second, we should switch over to burning due east. Okay. Now, we talked a bit about the lower stage engines that got unlocked by the new tech node we unlocked. So let's talk, and we also talked about the Ardua 105, which is Soviet upper stage engine on the Block E stage. There are also some American upper stage engines in that node. In particular, we can upgrade this AJ-10 to something rather more reliable, slightly better ISP. We also can unlock the mid AJ-10, this being the early AJ-10. Mid AJ-10 has a nozzle extension, which has a considerable increase in specific impulse from 270 to 278. It also has effectively unlimited restarts. You can actually reignite it in flight, which is amazing, which would let us, for example, have a large stage that would get us into a parking orbit and then reignite to get us to the moon. So that would be super helpful. Also gets unlocked is the XLR-81, also known as the Bell 8048 engine, which is used on the Aegina stage. Okay, now we hot stage. Ignition, SEP. That went well. And yeah, we're going to accept some steering losses because we don't want that high in apogee. We don't want too long at coast. Do we want? I guess we can pitch up a little, lower our steering losses. We won't lose that much. Okay, let's drop the fairings. See how we're doing. Yep, we're gonna be behind the moon by a fair amount. The moon is going to be about here when we get to here. But it'll be okay. Right, so the Agena upper stage was the U.S. workhorse upper stage, was used for a lot of spy satellite missions and also a lot of interplanetary missions. The Agena A stage, which had the first version of that engine, was not a terribly useful stage. It only burned for 2 minutes, about the same as this. But it was pump fed, which meant it had a much, much better propellant mass fraction. You got a lot more delta V out of it. So that's a good engine to unlock, mostly because we can soon unlock for basic construction the next model of that, which worked in the Agena B stage, which could reignite. And that is very useful because we can do the same ignition thing where we get into orbit and then reignite to boost to a higher orbit or escape. So yeah, let's go ahead and look here. Let's see if we can maybe set a maneuver node here. See how much it takes. Oops. All right, so yeah, we're going to be behind the moon, which is a shame, but we will at least. Ugh. All right, so that's interesting. Let's move it to right at apogee. How does that work? All right, so we definitely have capacity. We have 5181 left. Boosting to the moon's orbital altitude is only 4967. So let's go rather more than this. 5181. We're going to go a bit more than that because we know that those decouplers will give us some extra. Right about there. Now let's move this just a bit. This is probably as good as it will get. Yes, we're just going to miss the moon. It's very annoying. We are, however, going to escape the solar system. Not the solar system, I'm sorry, the Earth-Moon system, we're saying. So, yeah, we just missed. Quite likely, had we gone when we first went to the pad, maybe we could have hit it. I don't know. Don't know quite what that other. Oh, that's the solar orbit that we'll get after this. Well, we'll escape the solar system. We won't be able to communicate with anything, but that's okay. We will at least escape the solar system. And we'll also get a decent judge of just how much delta V we spend. So let's line up with our maneuver node, disengage that autopilot. How are we doing on nitrogen? A fair amount. Let's turn force roll off because it's not doing us any good at all. We just want steady roll. Okay, so we want to spin up about 12 seconds before the node, and we'll fire at about 10 seconds before, well, 15 seconds. Yeah, we'll fire at about 12 seconds before the node, and that should stabilize us fairly well on both sides of the node. So we're going to go ahead and warp until we're closer. And let's see how much delta V we actually burn. Predicted is 5182. Our maneuver is 5191.6. And spin up, SEP, fire. Burn out, fire. SEP, fire. SEP. Okay, so it's saying 126.4 left, which is odd. Did we have a failure? No, we didn't have a failure. We just didn't get quite what we predicted. But that's okay. We're definitely escaping the solar system. Not that we'll be able to talk to the probe once it passes lunar orbit, because we don't have an antenna that can handle it. But we are escaping the solar system, the Earth-Moon system. I keep doing that. And we will certainly get all our contracts. So let's go ahead and warp it on out. Yeah. Oh, right. Also, yeah, I killed warp. Let me put back. Yeah, we've lost connection, as expected. So the other thing that I didn't take into account was funkiness from the Oberth effect, from being that low that fast. And it is possible that we in fact overshot by 130 meters per second, because also those decouplers do have quite a kick, which means that our total delta V would be 140 meters per second more than it states, which would be, what, it was 5181, about 5321 meters per second delta V. So yes, we are going to want the moon to be fairly close, because it took us only about 2 days to get to the moon's orbital altitude, rather than the 3 days I was planning on. And sorry about the the flickering screen for a sec there. There's a bug map view and camera rotation. So yeah, let's go ahead and warp all the way out to escape. How far away is that? We've escaped. Okay. And in fact, wow, that's fairly impressive. If Mars were there, that was enough delta V for a Mars transfer. So not a bad little launch vehicle. Expended 133.8, steering losses 31.1, and yet we have enough for a Mars transfer. So we certainly know that our launch, this is actually, other than messing up the launch window, the first complete successful launch of that launch vehicle. So that's cause for celebration. Let's see, world first milestones. I thought these were all turned off. I guess not quite. We escaped the gravitational influence of Earth. Sounding rocket high. We did that. And medium. We did that. All right. So might as well pick another pair of these contracts. Build ourselves another duplicate of this. Warp 2. Roll it out to the pad. And launch. Now, go ahead and target the moon. Right, so we have like a 20-day wait. Because, yeah, launch windows. Aren't they nice? So we want the moon to be about here. And this is when I might be tempted to do a simulation, just to see exactly how long it will take to get to the moon. So seven hours, so we're going to go one more day. Right, let's try now. It's a day launch. Shocker. That's the first day launch we've had this series going towards the moon, I think. Okay. And 30 seconds. T minus 12 seconds. I up-counted because we actually launch about 2 seconds after that time, because that's when MacJev ignites the engines. It's not when we launch. Engine ignition. Away we go. Oh, that's right, and we were going to go a little south, weren't we? Yes, we were. Passing the cloud bank. Well, given that we have that much spare delta V, we're definitely going to launch to a higher initial apogee, so that we have more time to figure out the node, so that we more time to try to straighten out our orbit. All right, I think now I want to come back to, yeah. Now we want to lower our inclination. Less than a minute left of first stage burn. Yeah, when it works, this is actually a fairly capable launch vehicle. With all the solids, it's probably about as capable as Thor-Able. "17 seconds, 15, 10 seconds to MECO. And upper ignition, separation, pitch up, watch that relative inclination come down. Hopefully going to be lower than that. I'm not very happy with that. Nope, that's rising. That's making it go up. Let's go the other way. That's making it go down. Okay, fairing SEP. 36, 35, 34, 33. Let's pitch up a bit more to the steering losses. 30, 29, 28. Inching that inclination down. And burnout. All right, now we have a nice climb on up. And let's go ahead and create our maneuver node and We know what its delta V is going to be. Its delta V is 5321, because I did that math last time. And let's see what that does. Bang on. All right, so let's vary the time a little bit. All right. We have ourselves, let's try 53:15 because I want a little bit of leeway. All right. Now, let's move to the node. I must have hit my throttle or something. Doesn't matter, it already burnt out. Didn't have any spare ignitions anyway. All right, so we're lined up. We're just going to wait for that timer to kick down. Okay, and I want about 40 odd seconds before the node. I'm going to take that off. Once again, ask MechJeb to align with it. MechJeb thinks we are aligned. The spin up is to the left, so we're going to spin up. Sept and fire. And sept and fire. And sept and fire. I think I'm about a second too early. And let's decouple to get that last little bit. Arg. Yep, I was a second too early. So we're 1,000 kilometers above our target. That is a great, great, great shame. We also have less delta V, I think, because of the Oberth effect. So it wasn't so much the 1 sec. Well, part of it was the timing, but part of it also was we weren't as low. We're at 248 instead of lower, so we didn't get as much from the Oberth effect. But we will at least get science from the moon sphere of influence, and that counts for a lot. And we'll get another launch window in when is it right now? It's well, we know that yes, we'll subtract the MET from the date, and then we'll go forward the moon's rotational period. Oops, sorry about that. Which I can never exactly remember. I think it's 27.3 days. All right. So yeah, we need to go 27.3 days ahead, because this was actually a bang-on launch window. Yeah, we need to go 27.3 days ahead minus whatever our MET is by the time we hit the moon, and then switch back up. So let's go ahead and warp our way on out. Let's warp to here. And we have entered the sphere of influence of the moon. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. There's the moon. So yeah, let's do some science. Space high, space high, space high, space high, space high. We're not going to get space low. Because, yeah. Space low is about, I think, 150 kilometers. And we're at 6,000. So we basically replicated, what was it, Pioneer 4, I think, where it got within some few thousand kilometers of the moon, but it was far enough away that it didn't trigger all its experiments and things. I think we got closer than Luna 1 did. The first Soviet lunar probe that didn't explode. Yeah, so that went well. Just annoyed it did not properly estimate the delta V and or the timing of that burn. So we had it was like a 248 kilometer perigee for this transfer. Let's make sure all this translated. It did. Excellent. So we'll head back to the Space Center now. So we reached the moon, although we did not complete that contract because we're a bit far off. We'll go ahead and queue up another one of these things. And let me just check what the MET was. One day, 5 hours. Interesting. Interesting. So effectively, we did a very fast transit. Pick up another couple of these. So we want 27.3 minus about 1.3, so 26 days. So we want to go 26 days from now. It is now day 148 on the basic time. I'm going to go by that rather than up here because it's, what is it? It's May, 30 days. All right, so there are 31 days, but it's just easier to go. What did I say? 26 days. So how long is this going to take to complete? This is going to take 9 days to complete. So we're at day 148. We want 154, 164. We're going to launch at day 164. Okay, so I think that means that we want to launch when we next are in alignment. So let's go ahead and do this thing. Okay, now If I do the same launch and nothing goes wrong, and that's interesting. Why is the moon up there? Something is odd here. Oh, because I because I missed 10 days in my calculation. Yes. Yes, because I missed 10 days in my calculation. That was... Yes, I wanted 174. Okay. It's late. Math is... Ugh. 66, 7, 8, 9... All right, let's launch into the plane of the target. 13 hours. All right, we're a day early. Does that matter? I think that does matter. We'll go a day later. Okay. Okay. And off we go. Now, we want, again, to go a little southerly at the start. Now we've picked up a fair amount of relative inclination, so let's cancel it out again. Let it run back down as we start traveling southwards. Getting a little bit toasty. Seconds, 35 seconds to Miko. Seconds. Yeah, you can barely see the plume. 10 seconds to Miko. Ignition. Set. Up pitch. fine. Let's get rid of the fairings. And we'll pitch up a little bit more. Okay, down comes the relative inclination. You're about 248. I think I may have pitched up a little bit too much to meet that. 22. Let's watch this carefully. Ah, heck. We just had a... we're not going to get the delta V that we... That's really annoying. We probably lost 400 meters per second. Something crazy like that. All right, so we have 5181. Let's create a maneuver node and see what it gives us. No, we want it right at apogee. All right, so let's go with 5240. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was a failure. This mission was indeed a failure. So we're just going to go ahead and spin up right now so we can get those contracts. Hold steady. Sep. Burn. Oh, I could have measured how much delta V was expended, but oh well. Yeah, that was a tragic, tragic, tragic failure. And it is, you know, in the grand scheme of things, not the wisest thing I did to decide to try to do this. Sounding rocket medium. Whoops. To do this with Tier 1 TL0 engines rather than going ahead and getting the more reliable engines from the next tier. But, you know, I would probably want a launch vehicle that massed more than 40 tons, and I'd have to wait for the pad to upgrade and then all that. So no. Oh, we're in warp. Okay. Okay. So again, we want to wait. This time we want to wait about 27 days. See if I can do the math better. 195 to 02. Yes. So we want to wait for about day 202. Pick up sounding rocket medium. We can't do these yet. We don't have a way to generate power. We can do sounding rocket high. Okay. Happily, we have until November to hit the moon, so we've got time. It's just really annoying to have a bunch of these failures. So roll it out, warp towards day 202. Okay. Target the moon. "13 hours from now, we'll make a, it was still in day 202, so let's warp. Sorry, it's still in day 201. Let's warp until we're in day 202. Which I think is, now it will be, yes. Off we go. So, once again, we will veer a bit to the south. And I think I want to change back to 90 degrees at about 700 meters per second instead of 500, because we overcorrected last time a little bit. And feed wet. Fairly clear day around the Cape. Some scattered clouds off in the distance. Okay, not paying enough attention, so we went a little faster than I would have liked before we started correcting our inclination. I was looking at the pretty graphics, but I think we'll be okay. We can even go ahead and overcorrect slightly. Coming up on Miko. Ignition, separation, pitching up. Fairing sep. Let's pitch up a little bit more. Yeah, I generally separate the fairings at the Kármán line. Pulled it a little early this time, just because I was looking at it. How are we doing on inclination? Still coming down. $25, $24. Hey, yeah, we went enough south that we're getting under 25. Yeah, this is good. This is good. 21. All right, the lower our relative inclination is, the easier it will be to actually hit the moon, because the less planar dispersal we'll have. All right, now we're starting to go back up, so let's go right slightly. Burnout. All right. Now, I estimated 5240 last time, so let's see what happens with a 5240 meters per second node right here. So we want it to be later. We want it to be a fair amount later, in point of fact. Interesting. That's interesting. Did I do my math right? 5181? 5240? I did. It looks like we might still have launched maybe a day early? Hard to say. We will have to... All right, let's hope that that... All right, let's get as close as we possibly can. Okay. Looks like we launched it possibly even a day late. I don't know. It's hard to say. Hard to say. Let's go ahead and line up with the node. We have 2 minutes to apogee. All right, so we're going to fire well on the sync down, so it's good that we... very good that we ended up with a high apogee this time, because our launch window is not so awesome. Let's line up with the node. All right, let's warp a bit. Oh yeah, our apogee is even higher, so... we do what we can. All right, now we're getting lined up. So let's verify our alignment. So we want to spin up about T-minus 15 again, I think. Bam. 700-kilometer periapsis on the moon. And I believe if we decouple... Here's a good question. Let's answer this question. We want a 10-meter prograde burn. What will that do to our lunar periselene? Will it make it better or worse? It will make it better. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, antenna out. Oh, interesting. We went out of contact. All right, well, I guess, you know what? I just missed that by a sec, so I'll just do this. Anyway. Oh, and I didn't even extend the antenna, so we'll just do that again. All right. Now, what the heck happened? Were we in the atmosphere at the time? Oh, we were in the... Apparently our perigee got so low that we did a little dip through the atmosphere. So, once again, we had another failure. Yeah, what was going on here? Yeah, oh, okay. So we were descending so quickly that despite burning prograde, we dipped back into the atmosphere and went boom. So now we wait another 20... Let's see. We want the moon... I think this time we wait 26 days, not 27 days. So, yeah, that was... We had a perfect... Oh, well. So close and yet so far. I feel like this whole episode could be cut down to about 15 minutes, but well. All right, and we want another 3 days, I think. Was that right? Yeah, we wanted another 3 days. So day 229. Ugh. Well, that was good. Nailed the window. And ignition. And away we go. I forgot to start heading south already, so... well. We'll do a bit of that right now. And... now we'll come back on 0. Two seconds. 1 second. 20 seconds. Ten seconds to Miko. Ready to hot stage. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Alright, we're going to have to be a bit more aggressive, I guess. And we want to pitch up. And let's toss the fairings a bit early, because why not? Alright, now that inclination's coming down nicely. Inclination's about as good as it's going to get. This time, so I don't forget to extend the antenna, let's extend the antenna. Try for a lower perigee this time. And burnout. Alright, so disengage that, go to the map view, add our, come on, where's apogee? There's apogee. 5240. Let's see what that does. Alright, so we're going to have to go... That's brutal. Alright, we apparently launched a day late because yeah. Let's see. That is going to be inside the atmosphere, I fear. So we will have to actually add some radial. And we want 50 still. Okay. That's fine. All right, let's see what that does to our maneuver. Nope. Making that change means a much slower transit, so... Ugh. All right, what if we inverted that and put it here? What does that do? No, that's even worse. All right, so let's try something like this. Nope. All right, so the best we can do is make something which will, at some point, hit the moon. That is the best we can do. Right. Interesting. That was more delta V than we expected to expend, but we still didn't actually make it. So the predicted maneuver node was wrong. Interesting. So that's not actually going to get anywhere near the moon, so this launch was another failure. So we want to go about 20... Oh, I think I just blew the sounding rocket contract. I think I'd taken a sounding rocket contract and then... Oh well. Fine tutorial this is. 10/7/1953. All right, so we have time. We are actually nearing... We'll only get another 2 launch windows before those contracts expire. So we better not screw up that much more. And this I will need to rush build so it actually makes the next window. No, wrong. Oh, shoot. All right. Well. Well. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. So we are now definitely out of the launch window. So no, I that's just all right. I'm gonna have to just go back and load that save because that is just destroying. Ugh. Yeah, so that was me hitting warp 2 twice to destroy that launch, go through that launch window. That was deeply silly. All right, let's try this one more time. What do we want? We got sounding rockets, and this. All right. All right, let's see how out of window we are. Oh, okay, right, because I loaded that save. We're actually not that far from window. We want it to be about here. All right. Launch into plane of target. Do we want to go now or do we want to wait another day? That is a great question. Another day will put us, I think, about here. So I think we go now. Particularly if we go for, again, that high apogee launch, where it's a slower transit, and we were looking at yeah, okay. Full thrust, off we go. Now, the other thing to do is the good thing about launching early is that I can correct for that by burning radial. Oh, whoops. Once again. Let's burn properly to the south. Okay, let's come back to prograde to 90 degrees. We're actually now to the left of prograde again. "30 seconds, Miko." 15, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, ignition, set. Pitch up. Fairing SEP. Okay, so we will have pretty much precisely 5 minutes above the atmosphere. Burnout. All right, let's check what 5240 will do from apogee. 6 minutes above the atmosphere. That's too far ahead, so let's start scrolling this back some. Bingo. Now, let's go in 1 second lots. Oops. All right, let's guess on that. Now, align. With the node. Extend the antenna. 40 seconds to node. "30 seconds to node." Why is MechJeb taking us off the node? Spin up a little. 15. Really spin up. SEP. Ignite. SEP. Ignite. SEP. Ignite. Boom. Oh, yes. Finally done it. At 3:13 a.m. local time, we have an impact with the moon. All right. Now, tragically, we can't actually decouple our solid booster because, oh, and we have SAS on too, so which means we'll lose our spin, which is kind of obnoxious. But all right, let's go ahead and. So after loading, I find it incredibly ironic that after loading that save, Literally the first launch I do is a success. Despite doing, like, what was it, 9 launches? Somewhere around 9 launches. Um, and we'll get rid of our solid booster now that it's not going to materially change whether we impact or not. So let's do some science. Okay, that restores somewhat my faith in myself. And I do find it rather ironic that despite having all this MechJeb instrumentation, I still basically eyeballed my transfer rather than actually using a transfer window finder program of some sort. But, I mean, there were only a couple launches where I was day off, and even then, you know, might have, except for that last one, might have made it. So it all works. It's all fine. Finish uploading the high space data. Okay, we seem to have uploaded all the things. So now we have to warp until we're nice and close so that we can try to get a bit of moon low science. Now, sadly, our periselene is low enough that we'll have a pretty high descent rate when we impact, which means we're unlikely to actually be able to have much time to transmit the science that we care about. Okay, so we've now fulfilled the flyby contract. Lunar flyby uncrewed. How nice. So now, can't remember which experiments actually have the forget which experiments are actually most valuable. Probably the X-ray and the micrometeorite are more valuable than the other things. Maybe it's 200. We'll try 200 and see if that gives us. I think it actually is 200 now. It used to be 150. It used to be 100. Then I raised it to 150, and then I think I raised it to 200 because I was being kind and generous. So let's see. 400, 300 kilometers, 250. We're still in space high. 245. Where is the moon? There is the moon. 220. Still in space high. Now we're still in space high. Oh, it must still be 150. I thought I raised it to 200. Clearly I did not. All right. Okay. Geiger. And let's upload all the data that we can before we crash. And yeah, that's probably not, well, that might actually finish. Yeah, it finished. All right. The next one starts uploading and yeah, that's not finishing. But we have a successful impact. We have fulfilled the impact contract. Lunar Impactor. We got some sweet science. We got almost 47,000 funds. Space Center. Okay, so that was finally a success. So, given that that went on a quite appalling hour and 45 minutes to finally impact the moon, I'm going to break this here and then do our next launch vehicle in just a sec. So thanks everybody for watching, and if you're watching live, we'll be right back. Bye-bye.